I should have realized something, but I didn't. We had no supply line. There was no supply line. That's a God's truth. You're over there. In order to get the supplies, you had to work up what you need, send it to Washington, D.C., and they had to decide whether they were going to send the supplies that we needed. And I loved MASH, and I don't think people caught on to it, but they were telling you that every day because they had to raid the supply house. And that's the God's truth. You couldn't get it. And even worse than that, that's why we didn't, when we got discharged, it wasn't like the end of World War II. Nobody gave a damn. You just, soldier officer. I don't know. That's the way it felt anyway. And I didn't realize it, but that it wasn't called a war. And because it wasn't called a war, we were not treated the same way as if you were in a war that was labeled a war. We had no benefits. And I think the Korean veterans really got shit on. Pardon me. But it took a lot of years, and we finally did get some. But not. It's not. I got mad at the American Legion. They listed the wars. They did not list Korea. I'm disgusted with them. And you know that in the 3 years that went on, we had more casualties than Vietnam had in 10 years. That's how bad it was. Twin inches of the Billy Mitchell plane. I don't know if you recognize that. There's a small, that's a twin engine bomber. And to wake up the people in Japan, they stripped those planes down so they could take off on a carrier deck, which is only 1,000 feet. And you've got the planes also sitting on the deck, a twin engine, to fly over Tokyo. And they did it. In Japan, that really shocked them. But what we were doing in this secret mission was simply the same thing. But, you see, Korea was guarding the border between the two, between South and North of Korea, and the east side. There's no way you could pull that off on Korea because that's where they had their, but they weren't guarded on the other side. But the other side was Russia and China. How are you going to pull it off? To come in on the west side. There's two things going to be done. That they're going to drop a hydrogen bomb on Eniwetok. And it's supposed to be secret too. But they're going to let that secret out. But we had two B-36s with 4 jet engines attached to them that were going to take off just after the explosions of that. And the flight path had to be so that no country between this island that we were on would be able to spot them or hear them. So you couldn't be near the Philippines, you couldn't be near Guam, you had to be further out. And you're going to have to fly high altitude. And they used the jets because at the higher altitude they make less noise than those 6 piston engines. And get up at high altitude, and the only way you can go, you got to go over the Philippines. You got to go over part of Japan. You got to get in over the Japanese Sea, fly north, and then over the Korean Sea, and you can come into the backside, the west side, drop down, hammer those prop engines. You can hear them a mile away, 100 miles away, and fly low, head for the Aleutians. And we did it. That shook the hell out of the North Koreans when those, just after hearing hydrogen bomb being dropped, and those planes showed that they could do it. They could drop them there. One of the planes didn't make it back. They didn't get killed, but they didn't make it. They make it on land. They crashed but they had to get to the Aleutians. That was a long, long flight, and it had to be secret. That's why it was so secret. They kept any fishing boats or anything near the field that we were taking off from, to keep, so they wouldn't, nobody could get a hint at what was going on there. And it was done. And Von Braun was there with us. But his part was on the hydrogen bomb. And we had a general from the Air Force and they were the highest ranking Navy person we could get, both on that dinky little piece of ground. But that's how it ended. But it's not been written. I really shouldn't talk about it, but I don't care a damn.